Harry stepped off an overnight train into Kiev this morning. He walked into a security forum. In a war zone. He named Vladimir Putin from the podium and told him to stop the war. He hugged strangers on the platform. He talked about the forced deportation of Ukrainian children as a potential genocide. And he flew there straight from the Australian tour. That just collapsed in front of the entire world. But here is what Harry did not do. He did not show up at Buckingham Palace on Tuesday for the late Queen's 100th birthday. He did not attend the centenary reception. He did not stand with his father, his brother, his sister-in-law, or any of the working royals who marked the most emotional family milestone of the year. He sent flowers to a grave from California. And then he flew to a war zone. Today we are covering Harry's surprise Kiev visit and the speech that turned an ordinary post-tour stopover into a bid for global relevance, the King's centenary tribute video that erased the sausages so completely it has become its own news story. The viral death stare. Meghan was caught aiming at her own chief of staff in Melbourne. The Australian radio host who just admitted he had to pay to be in the same room with the sausages. The quiet candle relabel after the world clocked Meghan was selling her children as titled merchandise, and the Bondi lifeguard moment where Harry actually told Meghan to calm down on camera. Welcome back, my royalery. I'm the royalery. Let's get down to it. Let's start with Kiev, because the timing on this is everything. Harry landed in Australia 10 days ago for a tour that was sold to the world as philanthropy and ended as the most savage Roy Morgan poll of his post-royal career. 81% of Australians said the visit did not improve their opinion of him. 87% said it would not repair the relationship with his father. The Bondi sunbather refused to lift her head. The Irwins refused to take the meeting. And the moment that wreckage became impossible to spin, Harry boarded a plane, crossed Europe, took an overnight train from Poland, and walked into the Kiev security forum in front of cameras that were not assembled by his own team. He addressed Putin directly. He said, "There is still a moment, now, to stop this war." He accused Russia of deliberate attacks on civilians, mass killings, torture, sexual violence, and the forced deportation of entire populations, and he framed the trafficking of Ukrainian children as a campaign designed to erase who they are. He invoked the United States by name and the 1994 Budapest Memorandum that promised security in exchange for Ukraine surrendering its nuclear weapons. He said, "I am not here as a politician. I am here as a soldier who understands service." And he is reportedly walking a Halo Trust minefield in the coming days, in a beat-for-beat reenactment of his mother's 1997 Angola visit. Now here is the part the cheering coverage is missing. This is a man whose own grandmother turned 100 yesterday. Buckingham Palace held a centenary reception. King Charles released a video tribute to darling Mama Princess and opened the Queen Elizabeth II Garden in Regent's Park. The Royal Collection Trust opened the largest fashion exhibition of her reign. And Harry, the grandson who wrote 400 pages about how much that woman meant to him, was in California arranging a wreath by proxy through the People magazine pipeline. Then he booked the next flight to a war zone so a different camera could catch him being decisive about something. Anywhere that was not the family he walked away from. Diana walked the Angola minefield in 1997 and the world wept. Harry, at 41, can borrow her trench coat and her route map, but he cannot borrow what she had. Because Diana was not running from a 100th birthday she chose not to attend. Now let's talk about the King's tribute video, because it told you everything you need to know about where the royal family actually stands on the question of Harry. Charles released a 3-minute film on April 21st to mark his mother's centenary. William was in it. Catherine was in it. George, Charlotte, and Louis were in it. The video closed with that famous young Princess Elizabeth line, that we can each play our part to make the world of tomorrow a better and happier place. And the entire production featured 9 working royals. Harry was not one of them. Meghan was not one of them. Archie was not one of them. Lily was not one of them. This was not an accidental edit. Charles approves every frame of every official film that leaves his press office. The decision to leave the sausages out of the tribute to his own mother was a deliberate, considered, signed-off statement. And it lands inside a very specific timeline. 6 days ago, Harry's spokesman in Australia reportedly told the press, "We are royal. The sooner people accept that, the better." 5 days later, the king answered, without saying a single word, by erasing him from the centenary film. A passive snub it was not. This was Buckingham Palace handing the sausages a printed receipt for the last 6 years. The internet caught it instantly. One reaction making the rounds described Harry as a footnote and methane as a footnotes +1. The grandson who once gave the eulogy at Sandringham gets nothing. The grandson who carried a wreath in Australia for the wrong queen gets nothing. The titles still exist on paper. But the centenary film is the new family portrait. And the sausages are not in it. Now let me show you what Meghan was doing on the day in Melbourne that has been quietly going viral. The sausages were leaving the Royal Children's Hospital. Their chief of staff, Sarah Fosmo, a Gates Foundation veteran who has been with the operation since December 2024, reached out and tapped Harry on the back. A perfectly ordinary professional gesture. Calm and human. The kind of thing any senior aide does to keep a principal moving on schedule. And the camera caught Meghan turning her head toward the aide and delivering a look that has now been described as a death stare. Not annoyance. Not surprise. Contempt. A held, narrowed, openly hostile glare aimed at the woman whose entire job is to stop the schedule from collapsing. The clip surfaced on the British Royal podcast circuit this week, and former Sausages staff have been reaching out to reporters ever since. One quote landed especially hard. A former senior staffer told a royal correspondent, "The clip gives me PTSD," and described Meghan as, quote, "literally a workplace psychopath, smiling sweetly in public while shooting daggers when she thinks no one is watching." A workplace psychopath. Those are the words of the people who have actually worked inside Montecito Manor. And the second quote that surfaced is even more telling. Another insider said the aide's real crime was treating Harry like a normal person, because Meghan is desperate to be seen as royal. And any staffer who undermines that frame becomes the target of the next mask slip. This is the same Meghan whose cooking show producers were not allowed to use the word royal without her team escalating. The same Meghan whose new candles were quietly walked back from the words prince and princess this week, and we will get to that one in a minute. The same Meghan who has now lost 25 executive employees in 3 years and 3 nannies before Archie was 7 weeks old. The cameras finally caught the look the people who quit have been describing in private for years. Now let me tell you what an Australian radio host just admitted on national air, because it cracks the entire philanthropic visit frame wide open. Michael Whipper Whipfley, who hosts the Nova Drive show, sat down on Wednesday morning and casually told the country he had been invited to meet Harry and Meghan at a Nexus Australia event with about 50 other guests. And then, on air, his co-host Kate Ritchie asked the question every Australian was already thinking. She asked, "When you say invited, do you mean invited but you bought a ticket?" Whipper paused. Whipper nodded. Whipper said, and I am quoting, "I made a donation. I got an invitation to meet Harry and Meghan along with 50 people, and there was a donation involved." There it is. On the official Sausages Australia tour, the one billed as service, advocacy, and community engagement, 50 people had to pay their way into the room. Not buy a ticket to a charity gala. Not bid in a public auction. Pay a donation in exchange for a curated meet and greet. Philanthropy this was not. This was a fan experience priced in tax-deductible disguise. It is the same model that filled the empty seats at Meghan's $3,000 wellness retreat. It is the same model that filled Harry's not-quite-sold-out Inter-Edge summit. The Sausages did not bring relevance to Australia. They brought a turnstile. And Whipper kept going. He told the studio he kissed Meghan goodbye on the cheek and then asked Harry for his phone number, hoping to keep chatting. Harry deferred to his executive assistant and handed over a contact card. Whipper has now sent 3 emails over 3 days to that contact. 0 replies. None. The gingerbrat smiled, took the donation, handed over the card, and his office cannot be bothered to answer one of Australia's biggest radio personalities 72 hours later. The donations have cleared. The visit is over. The next country awaits. Now back to the candle story, because the U-turn is news on its own. 2 days ago we were talking about Meghan's lifestyle brand launching candles numbered 506 and 604 for Arches, and Lily's birthdays, with product copy that crowned the children Prince Archie of Sussex and Princess Lily of Sussex. Royal author Phil Dampier said the palace would take a dim view. The internet exploded. The Mother's Day edit went live anyway on April 22nd. And then, quietly, with no announcement, no statement, no acknowledgement, the words Prince and Princess disappeared from the candle descriptions. The page now shows the candles at the same numbers, the same prices, the same scents, with the titles surgically removed from the marketing copy. And reporters who went looking for the trademark filings were told by People magazine, with the helpful Sausages camp framing, that Meghan has not actually trademarked Arches or Lily's names at all. Translate that into plain language. The brand launched the bait. The brand watched the reaction. The brand pulled the bait. And now the brand wants you to forget the bait was ever there. The titles were never about pride. They were about price. And the moment the price tag started costing more in headlines than it earned in chocolates and matchboxes, the titles came off the candle and the press release was rewritten in real time. And let's close with the Bondi clip, because a new piece of footage from that beach visit just surfaced and it is one of the funniest body language moments of the entire tour. Harry and Meghan were leaving the meeting with the Bondi terror attack survivors. A young male Australian lifeguard, in his Bondi vest and swim cap, was standing in the path. Meghan walked over and pulled him into a long, tight, theatrical hug. The kind of hug staged for the cameras every single time. And from a step behind, Harry, clearly, audibly, on camera, yelled out, "Easy, easy." The crowd laughed. Meghan laughed. The lifeguard grinned. And Harry, who has spent the entire tour performing emotional regulation, slipped into the most honest sentence. He has spoken on Australian soil. He told his wife to ease off the lifeguard. Out loud. In public. Now flip the genders for a second. If Harry had hugged a female lifeguard for that long, with that posture, in front of those cameras, the Sausages PR machine would have had the entire Daily Mail staff under legal threat by lunchtime. But Meghan does it. Harry deflects with a joke. The press laughs along, and the couple climbs into the Range Rover and rolls off to the next ticketed appearance. The double standard is the entire operating system. And what the country actually saw in that frame was a husband who knows the camera is rolling, knows his wife knows it is rolling, and chose the lifeguard as the easiest punchline. 3 days later, Harry was on a train to Kiev. His wife was back in Montecito relaunching candles with the title scrubbed off. And the Australian tour dossier had already been edited into whatever shape the next pitch deck requires. The brand keeps moving. The branding keeps changing. And the only constant is the bill. But let me know what you think about all of this in the comments.